Hey, did I go live? Oh, shoot. I can't tell if I'm live. Oh my God. Am I live, guys? I have a different screen up and it never came up. Like normally it'll say live, but hopefully you guys are there. This was kind of a very spontaneous. I'm still getting texts because I was texting K Clo and Barb. Okay, you're already in. Yep, I just started. I actually tried something new today. I actually am streaming it. Oh, it's on my. Hold on. I'm sorry. Both. Okay, I'm actually streaming it on both channels. I thought I'd test it out today. Um, so I was sitting here and really shouldn't. I should probably be in bed right now because I have to go to the doctor tomorrow. It's just lab stuff I got to do. Um, so I got to be up early. But I was going through like this book, and I was going through trying to come up with questions for Cato, and I was going through my emails, and I realized that a lot of you guys have not even read her first book, and then I started thinking about it and I'm like, oh my gosh, these new people that are following this case can't even order her first book. So they don't even know what to ask her or even what she has said in the already, some of the stuff. Yes, I can, Barb. Sorry, I won't be able to respond because I'm trying to but yeah, I could do them both. I know. Isn't that cool? It's my first time. I wanted to see how it works out doing both. But anyway, so I realized, shoot, a lot of these people haven't even have read her first book. So how do you even know what to ask her? Besides this new stuff she said about Bella, nobody even knows. So of course I'm not going to sit here and read her whole book, but I have. Not only did I get her electronic book, I ordered her hard copy book. Her new book has, I think it's a delayed. I think she said it'll be out in a few days. I'll have to look at back at her email, but it isn't out yet. And our interview's tomorrow. So her book will not be out before the interview. So then it's like, well, how do you guys know what you want to ask her? So I figured I picked out a few parts that I was going to read to you from her old book. So at least you guys kind of can maybe form some questions for her. No, I'm talking about you can't order her old book because they took it off of the shelf. So nobody could even order her old book. So all of you guys that are just started following this case, it just hit me today. Like, oh my God, these people haven't even read it. Well, some of you have. The ones that have been following it for, since this came out and for the last couple years, a lot of the people that have been following it for a while at least know what's in the book. But there's a lot of new people. And I was just thinking, man, they don't even know. So I just thought I would read some of the old book, not the new book. I don't know if I don't think the new book should be the same as the old book because, well, the new book hasn't came out yet. I think from listening to her, I watched a part of her real quick on AD just for like a quick minute, and I think it said she said that she's actually going to include the letters in the new book, which is awesome. She probably realized because a lot of us were kind of disappointed in the first book because she didn't actually include the handwriting, like the letters. But I'm pretty sure I assumed by what she said that she meant that she was going to actually include the handwritten letters so we could see, in his handwriting and stuff. So, no, I know. I'm not going to read you the plagiarism stuff because not all of it's plagiarized. There was only like a paragraph plagiarized, to be honest, though. I mean, I know you guys don't want to attack me now, but if you really look at the whole book and then the amount that was plagiarized, as far as from the other book, there was only like a paragraph. Honestly, there was probably a total of 2 paragraphs tops if you want to add like a couple sentences in here and there. But it wasn't like the whole book was plagiarized. But unless if you want to account like the discovery stuff, but I wouldn't say that's plagiarism because she made it aware where that came from, that it came from the discovery. So the part that she claimed was hers that wasn't, it was only probably like a paragraph, honestly. I mean, I'm not trying to say, I know plagiarism is horrible. I'm not trying to say that it was all right, but I'm saying probably 95% of the book wasn't. So anyway, but like I said, she did have like the discovery stuff in it and stuff. But that's besides the point. My whole, no, I know. I'm not. No, I know there isn't fan. No, that is total. You guys, I respect everybody's opinion. I know there's people that don't like her. I know there's people that do like her. You guys are fine. You guys are welcome to your own opinions. I don't know. I mean, I'm I'm just gonna keep my. This video is not about my opinion about her, but you guys could share your opinions. My point of this video is I just wanted to read you a couple parts of this book, so then you guys could. And please, as I'm reading these, don't write the questions in this chat, because if the chances are, if you have questions in this chat that you want me to ask her right now, I will not see them because I'll be reading this book. So if you have questions, will you please email that email I put up? And if you don't have that email, Barb, put the email up. If you don't, for some reason you missed the email that Barb puts up, then even email the email I have on my about page, but just do it before tomorrow, or sometime before, like tomorrow afternoon, so I could get the questions ready if you have questions. So I wish I would have actually did this earlier, but I didn't realize until just a little bit ago that you guys probably haven't read it. And oh, thanks, Don Marie. So well, at least some of you. So I just kind of a spontaneous. I wish I would have done this like Friday or something where I read parts of it, but it just hit me that some of you have not seen it and you can't order the old book. Okay, so I'm just gonna read a couple parts. And yeah, tomorrow, that's why I have members only. It's viewable. You guys, anybody could view it live. But for the chat, this is the first time I've ever done it, and it's a perfect example of like why I feel like you should use this members only sometimes. For especially like a guest like this, where there's a lot of controversy surrounding her, there's going to be a lot of negativity, and that's fine. Everybody's allowed to have their own opinions, but I get easily sidetracked, like I did with Julie Rowe. And then especially I don't want the guest getting sidetracked if she's reading the chat. So that's why I put it members only chat. So therefore, not only will it keep out like trolls, but also it will help me be able to see the questions, because there'll only be so many people trying to write in questions. So that's why I'm saying, if you aren't a member and you do have a question, for sure email me it beforehand. And also, even if you are a member, I would email me beforehand, just in case, if you really do have a question or dying to ask her, Okay, hold on a second. Wait, Lisa, are you talking to me? Are you talking to me? Just send everyone copies, like, of the book? Or that's funny. I don't even know if that's what you meant, but no, I can't do that. But maybe you're not even meaning that. That's a good one though. Hey, Cheryl Stone, Paige. So, hey, Weird Mom, what is up? Oh, hey, Gregory. Oh, Gregory. Okay, so I'm gonna read you I can't read you a ton of this because, but I'm just gonna read you. I marked off a few like parts of the chapters that are interesting, and one of them includes the actual, what I call the third confession, because the first confession is what he tells, the whole Shanann thing, what Kim's going on about. The first thing he tells when he's interviewed, and the second one is the one at Dodge, when Coder and Tammy and Baumhofer go. And then this I consider the third confession that he tells Cadel. And he does write it in his words. Watch, you guys. She's going to include the letters in the book. And I believe her, because on the Daily Mail, when she did the interview Daily Mail, she showed some of the letters. It is definitely his handwriting. Like, it is. I have letters from this woman that's written him, and I trust this other woman, because she didn't even try to make anything off of it. She's just mentoring him. I seen the letters. The AD had somebody that had the letters. I seen the letters. They all match how he signs them. It's the exact paper. It's the exact in Christ Chris. So she definitely did get these letters from him. So I'm not debating that at all, because I could see the handwriting. Okay, so let me start off. And you know what I do want to say? Actually, let me just share this real quick. I watched that one interview. No, was it interview? Yeah, it was an interview with AD. That person he had on, Blair. Well, it's her, not her real name, but has been talking to Chris. And she showed a letter, so I totally believe that she's really talking to Chris, because it's the same handwriting, the same signature, the same everything. I just want to share, those of you that didn't watch that episode, let me just share a couple of these emails real quick, because I've been wanting to talk about this too, but I just haven't went live. So I figured I'll just add that in the beginning, because it kind of gave me a whole new perspective on Chris. He is freaking so manipulative. As much as I used to think it was him manipulating these, or not him, as much as I used to think it was maybe the girls kind of running the show, he is so manipulative. Like this just confirms the fact. Hold on, let me share this. I know a lot of you guys probably already seen this. Hold on a second. Now this is from AD source, so hopefully he won't mind me sharing this because I agree. I mean, I'm saying I really do believe that she talks to him, whoever this person is, because she showed a letter. But these are just emails. You could see it's like the same email, the Cora links that what's her name, Kim shows on hers. Let me just share this real quick, and then we'll get into the book. Okay, so I forgot to bring up my other computer to have two screens. Oh well, I'm not gonna have two screens. No biggie though. Hopefully it won't be a problem. Yeah, because most of the time I'm just gonna be reading it. Okay. Okay, when chicken. Oh, I have to take off this. Just bear with me, guys. Take this off and then do this, not this. That's the questions I had for her. Okay, so this right here. Okay, so let me just read these. And like I said, this is from AD Source. And I just think it's very important for us to see this with all this Kim stuff going on. Hold on, let me bring up my live real quick. Okay, so you see, I don't remember which one's first. This might not be in order. Hold on a second. Okay, so I showed you like right there where he signs it, and his signature is just exactly the same as the letters that I have. So it says, "Thank you for being bold enough to go against Kim. I expect everyone to give me slack over this and you, and I pray do not receive trouble for being a friend and helping." So he's saying, I hope you don't receive trouble for going against Kim. And it says, "I want it to be heard with the AD now before I am forced to do more by Kim or my family in order to live a easy life that I do support AD, but need to keep peace with my family and self by being on board with others. I hope my 35 appeal can shed much needed light and complete truth. How did your mom's test come back? I pray for her. I'm low in time. I look forward to hearing feedback and great news. Thank you again for this all. It means so much to me. More, I wish everyone could understand how little say I have in my own life. God is teaching me power and control. Sometimes there may be others who will understand the lack of say I have always had. If you ever get a chance, let them know. Everyone know this is my family's choice, not mine. I'm limited in what I can say and do. And what I could say and do. Sorry, I'm reading this stuff. I'm limited in what I could say and do and have to go with the story for my own protection, to also protect others too. I'll explain more when I write you next. It's complicated and messy. It's a long story, something you need to see. Where did that last one? Whatever. I don't know. I don't know where the rest is. Okay. But that's the important part I read. So basically, the fact that I don't believe this is what I'm thinking. He's playing everybody, guys. He is playing everybody. Whoever he's talking to, whatever that he thinks they want to hear, that's what he's going to tell them. So you better believe if he ever talks to AD, he's going to say NK was involved because that's what he wants to hear. Kim wants to hear Shanann did it. So does his mom. Whatever. He's so manipulative. He wants to be the center of the tension. He's playing the victim. If you guys can't see by this that he's playing the freaking victim to Kim, oh man, when I was watching Mexi, he like everything he was saying, it was like I was feeling like I was like, yes, like you were. I felt like he was speaking through me too. Like I feel, me and Mexi, I feel the same about this manipulative piece of crap, Chris. Like the more I learn about him, the more I hate him. I hate him. He's playing us all. He's not that nice guy. He's like the most dangerous type. The one that you think is so nice and is like, oh, he's so sweet. He would do anything to help you. He's so compassionate. He's so giving. The ones that could trick you, and then I feel like he's the most dangerous. Like he's playing the victim to Kim. No, he's not the victim. He's playing everybody, guys. He really is. He's gonna say whatever anybody wants to hear that he's talking to. So his story's gonna keep changing. It just makes me so mad. But anyway, okay, I just had to share that because when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, this little jerk. Okay, let me get back to this book here. So I don't know what we could believe. He's just a liar. He's going to keep going. He can't just, he's got to be the center of freaking attention. And he, oh, let me read. Okay, before also I get into this book, I know I'm rambling. Let me read you something that somebody wrote me, and I feel like it nails Chris to a T. Somebody emailed me. She said I could read it. Like I'm not good with words. I'm really not. And I feel like she just words it really good of how she describes Chris. Hold on, let me just read it. Let me put my thing back up just so you know. Okay, and then we'll chat about the book. But I just wanted to read this. I think she's got him down. Where did it go? Okay, so her name's Layla G. She just emailed me. Okay. Says, as he insists on coming out from under his stone every year, so he comes out again every year, keeps bringing back to defend Shanann. The one thing I noticed, having come from an abusive home, is that Chris is an emotional abuser. Hence, Shanann constantly stroking his ego. If she didn't, he would withdraw attention from her, and she thrived on attention from him, as she should have been able to. The other thing is Chris Watts needed to be seen as the good guy. You can see how important it is to him. This means he selected the most vulnerable women and then fawned over them, being the good, kind guy, the white knight. This he did to Shanann. He saw her going through the pain of lupus and took advantage of the situation. But when Shanann started to gain her strength and be her own woman, he didn't like it. He was no longer needed in the way he wanted to be, so he got bored. Enter NK. Okay, enter NK. Where did it? Hold on, it just cut off. Oh, apparently recovering from a bad relationship, or was it just a story she gave him to attract him away from Shanann? Who knows? NK may have had a bad relationship, or she may have known about how Chris met Shanann and how ill Shanann was, and set up a story of vulnerability to net him in. All we know for sure is both Chris Watts and NK are liars. Neither one could draw a straight line. I don't know which one I would believe. Or did she say I know which one I believe? I don't know. But anyway, hold on. But anyway, she says, by the way, I put Chris and NK in lowercase because they are insignificant. This is just my thoughts. I am beginning to hope for some jailhouse justice to happen to him. And then it says, every now and then I have to rehash evidence to those pathetic people who say poor Chris, but until maybe some jailhouse justice happens, this will go on every year, unfortunately. I predicted he would do this, and he was sentenced on a Facebook group at the time. I was shouted, anyway, but yeah, so that's basically all I have to read. But so I think, yeah, it's what he does. God, makes me so mad. Okay, anyway, guys, I'm going to start reading a few more interesting parts of this book, and then the one part where he says he confesses, because like I said, originally her book would have been out if it would have came out when it was supposed to come out, then her book would have been out before the interview, and now we don't. She was asking, I have to respond to her. I think she was asking if I wanted to just reschedule it until the book came out, but I haven't responded because I figured, well, if we could just maybe come up with some questions on her old book, we should just keep it for tomorrow, right? And then I was going to write to her, maybe we could just do 2 interviews if you want. I don't know. I'd rather just do it, right? Okay, so let me read some parts of this. Okay, so this one, the first part I'm going to read is from chapter 3. Hold on. Can you guys hear me good, I hope? I rearranged my microphone in front of me. When I'm not in front of the camera, I could put it right in front of me. Okay, so give me 1 minute, guys. I know people complain, I'm never ready. But you know what? This is a spontaneous live, so I'm not ready. I admit it. But I want to put my light on because I'm reading my book and I can't see that good. So I'm going to go put my light on. Hold on. Okay, guys, I'm coming. I'm sorry. I just couldn't see. Rather be set, take a couple minutes out, and struggle and not read it right. Okay. All right, let me put my earphones back in and let's read some of this book. So I picked out I skimmed through it really quick to pick out some of the more interesting parts, and then end up with a confession, the third confession. Okay, so chapter 3 is life-changing realities, okay? Shanann worked for Thrive, a direct marketing sales company that sells nutrition and weight management products in the form of vitamins, shakes, and patches. Actually, I'm going to put this back here. Okay. If you can't hear, Barb or K-Clo or who else do I have as mods? Let me know. If you guys can't hear, just let me know, you guys. Put it in the chat because I'm kind of sitting back a little bit. Okay. Christopher was consuming this product on a daily basis in large amounts. He was wearing what they call DFT Duo Patch, which he has said caused his heart rate to speed up like he was working out all day. At one point, he said he never had fewer than 2 patches on him at all times. Besides the Duo Patch, he was also drinking more than 1 shake a day. He took 2 of the tablets every morning. He was loaded up. Christopher was taking so much of this high end, he couldn't sleep. He says he could only sleep about 3 hours per night. He did say that because of living in Colorado and taking Thrive, Shanann did not have to take any medication. Shanann was doing very well selling Thrive, and Chris benefited in several ways from it. Shanann earned many free trips, which they were able to enjoy. Since Chris worked a full-time job, he was not free to go on all the trips, and was needed at home to care for the girls. So there were many weekends he would stay home doing special things with them and taking them special places. That was his time. That was his time to bond with them. He supported Shanann in what she had to do and when she traveled. This is how she helped to earn a living. Her goals were high, and she claimed to have more than 200 people working under her. She had great ambition and was headed up on the ladder with Thrive. One of the things Shanann did to help... There we go. One of the things Shanann did to help with her business was to entertain. She planned parties, some of them quite large, spending hundreds of dollars on one dinner party. It was very important to her to appear well off. See, I don't like this part of the book. Maybe I shouldn't read this. This part it actually made me mad. But I'll read it. I don't know why I chose to. There's a reason I chose. Oh, because it talks about the relationship. Yeah, I mean... I guess we'll read it though, but I remember now this is her. She's getting these words from Chris, so this is Chris playing the victim to Shanann, right? So actually, this is a good example. Him playing his little victim card to Shanann as he's telling her these stories. Anyway, it was very important to her to appear well off. Appearances were everything. Some of her friends looked up to her or were envious of her because she seemed to have it all. He always knew where his place was. When they would have company or dinner parties, his place was to stay upstairs and entertain whatever children were there. He didn't mind much because he preferred to stay in the background anyway. And honestly, trying to keep up an appearance was kind of embarrassing for him. Christopher had become background noise. Oh, poor Chris. Background noise. Oh, he's good, man. He is good. He tricked us all. Anyway, it's very harmful when this happens to a person, and soon something will have to change. On June 22nd, Chris and Shanann went to San Diego with Thrive. Right before this trip, Chris and Nikki, a coworker, started to take flirting to the next level. The two of them made plans to meet after he returned from his trip, which he said he did not want to take. A video that Shanann posted of them the day they had just arrived in San Diego shows Chris trying to stay out of the way of the camera. He obviously was not happy about being there. The two girls, Bella and Celeste, stayed home with their papa, Frank Rusek, Shanann's father. Arriving home early on June 26, Shanann took the girls, left later that afternoon with her dad for a 5-week family visit to North Carolina. Even though he never told her he didn't want her to go, he joined them a month later for a week-long family vacation. Shanann told her friends that before she left, he couldn't keep his hands off of her. He now says if she had not gone, he does not think he would have had an affair and none of this would have ever happened. If she had been home, he probably would not have met Nikki at the park or ever went out with her, he says. I want to be careful about this statement he made, that it does not sound like it's Shanann's fault he had the affair or that he killed her. Neither was her fault. She was probably tired from her early pregnancy. She got a lot of help from grandparents in North Carolina, and it was probably a welcome break for her. It was just before the trip that Christopher learned of her pregnancy. The video that Shanann posted online shows he was not happy about the news of their third child. The very same week he had started to see Nikki was when he found out Shanann was pregnant. He was caught off guard by the announcement because it had taken Shanann much longer to get pregnant the last 2 times. He said it made him feel more guilty because he had just decided to have a more serious relationship with Nikki. He always wanted a son, but this was a big stressor for him, even though he was a part of the decision, and at the time it felt right to have another baby. He was part of the decision. Remember, isn't he going on now that he didn't really have a say or something? I remember hearing something that Kim said about that. Anyway, sorry. I had to take a sip of my coffee. Okay. So at the time it felt right to have another baby. Yeah, he was part of the decision at the time it felt right to have another baby. He did not know what was just around the corner. That he would meet someone that would sweep him off his feet and make him regret he ever had a family. Now he felt he was not ready for this baby because mentally he was with Nikki. Once Shanann and the girls left for North Carolina, Chris was free to do whatever he desired, and he desired Nikki. He and Nikki's relationship escalated fast. He said that as much as he tried to take things slow, Nikki was pulling him. Chris was caught off guard because he had never had a woman pursue him before. She lured him with lewd sex and sent nude pictures of herself on his personal phone. Nikki was definitely chasing him. She knew he was married and had 2 girls, but in fairness, she was told by Christopher that he and Shanann had both decided to separate. She most likely knew about Shanann's pregnancy because she spent time looking up Shanann on Facebook and the internet. She possibly wanted Shanann's life. Shanann had many YouTube and Facebook videos that Nikki most likely saw. Chris says really bad things went on in Nikki's house. Things he is very ashamed of. Some of the things Chris says he will take to the grave with him. And that's one of the things when this book came out that we were wondering, what did he mean by that? Some people thought drugs, some people thought like sex and threesomes. I don't know, guys. I mean, he's saying very bad things went on at Nikki's house. Things he was very ashamed of. Some of the things he says he will take to the grave with him. So, I mean, we could chat about what you guys think. I don't know. Anyway, let me continue here. Shanann was beautiful, lived in a beautiful home, had 2 beautiful children, had it all, or at least it appeared. She had all the things that would make a mistress jealous. It seemed Nikki stalked Shanann, at least on the internet, if not in person. Even though Shanann dealt with health issues, she seemed like a person who accomplished a lot. Nikki, watching from the outside, was very unfair to Shanann. Nikki knew her competition, but Shanann never knew hers. Nikki went to the police early on to let them know she had been seeing Chris. As far as it appears, her accounts of the relationship were not truthful. She went to them early on to make herself not look guilty. Her feelings were more than she would tell the FBI. Some things she told them were blatantly not true. But Christopher was drawn to Nikki and enjoyed being with her. She cared how he felt about things. She cared about what he thought and would ask his opinion. He was not used to this. Since this is what Christopher needed most, it wasn't the sex for the most part that pulled him in. He was much more in love with the way she treated him and made him feel like a man again. Well, let me check my text because I told my mods if there was an issue to text me, so I don't know. Wait, nobody. Never mind. I don't see any new text. Sorry. Yeah, only text maybe if there is an issue. So because I'm gonna look every time if there is. Okay. Where am I? Shoot. Truly went to early make herself not look filthy. Okay. Oh yeah. She cared so much and asked. Remember that video well, it's just her interview basically, where she was saying like, oh, she basically made it seem like to him that he was picking the places, but how did she word that? But basically, she was picking the places, but I don't know. I'll have to listen to that part again. But it was like almost like she manipulated him to make it look like that he was making the choices when he wasn't, in my opinion. I'm talking about NK. So he's saying, oh yeah, he was not used to, asking his opinion and what he wanted, since that's really what he wanted. Not the sex. He wanted to be heard, is what he's saying, basically. That's what would make him feel like a man again. She validated his masculinity and gave him the feeling she adored. Oh, she gave him the feeling that she adored and looked up to him and valued what he had to say. Respect is what he felt from her. He did not want to let that go. At all costs, he determined to hang on to someone that caused him to feel like he had never felt before. Possibly she knew how to play him and played him like a piano. Yep. But he felt like he had a voice with her, which he did not have with Shanann. He had been afraid to be himself around Shanann. Aw, poor baby. He never offered his opinion and was rarely asked how he felt about anything. He commented he could not hang on. He commented he could not hang something on the wall in their house by his own decision without Shanann getting mad about it. Probably Shanann had always been, but then Nikki came into the picture. He says the control and being so bossy seems to have led him where he could not even talk to her about things that were vital to their marriage. Being deeply loved by someone gives you strength, while loving someone deeply gives you courage. Chris's deep love he thought he had for Nikki may have given him the courage he needed to get rid of his family or to live the life he felt he deserved. Oh my God, that's horrible. Gave him the courage to get rid, he's saying basically Nikki's love gave him the courage to get rid of his family or to live the life he felt like he deserved. That's like, oh my God, that's a horrible sentence right there. I mean, for him to even feel that way. Anyway, Christopher said he had never even considered having an affair or that there was anything wrong with his marriage until he met Nikki. He wasn't looking for an affair. But see, if he was treated so bad by Shanann, then he would have been out. He was married to her, 8 years or 6 years? I think he was with her 8 years. Come on. Now, if it was only Nikki, then obviously she didn't treat you that bad. Anyway, but Nikki was too much for him to resist. Oh my God. They felt a common bond, and he chose the wrong path. Nikki was playing a dangerous game, and it seemed she pulled out every stop to seduce and intoxicate him. Chris spent almost all of his time with Nikki the month of July. He practically lived at her house and had almost no time to think about what he was doing. When he was with her, he did not even think about his family, as though he did not have one. When he did think about them, he felt very guilty. Nikki knew this, and it is the reason Chris, in his own words, had to talk her down off the ledge more than once. She became the injured party in her eyes instead of seeing it for what it was. She then tried pulling the last punch by telling him she wanted to give him a son. She knew she could get Chris to feel bad for her by telling him they didn't have any firsts together. She's trying to steal someone else's husband, and she is sad she doesn't have any firsts with him. She shared his first affair with him, but that wasn't enough. Did she think Shanann was ruining her life? Chris feels this is when the idea to take the lives of his family began. He didn't want to, but knew it was going to happen. He did nothing to fight those feelings. Nikki had a group of friends he says were involved in some very dark things. He can pinpoint a time that he could feel himself get darker on the inside. In asking what Nikki was really like, he suggested reading Proverbs 5-27, and I would see Nikki. These verses in the Bible show a very sexual woman who does not care that she is married. Okay, so that's... And then he quotes a Bible verse, or there's actually a quote. I'm not going to read that right now, because I can't read all of it. I'm going to read... And then it goes on to talk about that thing about the wedding and Jamie, Chris's sister, and the disagreement they get in, because supposedly they kind of blame Shanann for that in a way. But like I said, I'm not going to get into all this. Hold on. I'm going to skip to chapter 6, The Mistress. Okay, let me take another sip of some coffee. Okay. How's everybody doing? I'm sorry, I'm trying to talk because I don't want you guys to hear me sip coffee. I know that drives people nuts. Gotta stay awake though. Okay, chapter 6, The Mistress. Christopher has not told the FBI, but as soon as Nikki told him she wanted to have his first with him, he started planning how he could kill the baby so he could give Nikki their first together. Aww. Wow. So he wanted to give her the first son. Okay, so how very sad that Shanann was excited to be able to give him a son. He was planning to take that baby's life before he had the chance to come into the world. This baby boy was the son he always told Shanann he wanted. This would perfectly complete their little family. Shanann had thought if Christopher could get excited about their baby boy, then he might start feeling differently about their family. At first, Nikki had told Chris she did not even want children, yet telling him she wanted to give him his first son was her way of keeping him, basically. He was not wanting to get rid of Shanann's baby because he thought it was not his. He wanted to get rid of the baby because it was his and he did not want it. Do you hear that, Kim? He was not wanting to get rid of the Shanann's baby because he thought it was not his. He wanted to get rid of the baby because it was his and he did not want it. However, Shanann was the only one fighting for the marriage. All while he was trying to destroy it. He would not give his marriage another chance. Would not even talk to her about their problems. Would not be honest with her. He let her be the only one in the marriage that had a desire to save it. Chris did not try one time to talk to Shanann about their problems until the morning he killed her. He just couldn't confront her. As soon as the girls all left for North Carolina, he had a new sense of freedom. Nikki latched on very quickly even though he was married with 2 girls. She wanted him to stay with her every night. She had not included Chris in her friend circle, but was ready to right before the murders. So that's why I don't really think he did ever meet Jim, but it looks like he thought that he was about to meet some of her friends right before the murders. Anyway, in the past, she had been in an abusive relationship. So when it was over, she deleted most of her social media. Oh, sound familiar. That's what she kind of did right after this, too, huh? Her mail went to her father's house like she was hiding from someone. She took medication but never told Christopher why. He suspected she was bipolar. She was in Chris and Shanann's house twice, July 4th, and again on the 14th. Chris was off work on July 4th, and he stayed the night at Nikki's and slept in late the next morning. When he was up and checked his phone, there were many missed calls from Shanann. He knew she was going to be really mad. He went outside to call her, and she was beyond pissed, absolutely furious. He decided to just go home for the rest of the day. He went back inside to let Nikki know. Now it was Nikki's turn to be angry. Weren't they going to do something later on that day? He told her no. He was just going to go home for the day. For the first time, she realized that she was not number one in his life. Chris must have been having second thoughts. Had she left him alone for the rest of the day, he may have turned her around. Later on, she showed up at Chris's house with the ruse she wanted to help him build a healthy protein diet plan. She didn't look around the house much that day. She felt she couldn't allow him to be alone. She knew if he was alone in that house with all the memories and pictures of his family, that he might decide his life was too good to give up. Or maybe there was love deep inside him for his family that could be brought to the surface again. On July 14th, Chris and Nikki were headed home from Shelby Museum and decided to stop at his house before getting something to eat. There, Nikki played with Theodore, the family dog, who led her upstairs. This time she could see what things were like in their life, and all the pictures of Bella, Celeste, and Shanann. She came downstairs with the most frozen, dazed, confused look on her face. She realized for the first time the life he was living, and the family that would be broken to pieces because of their affair. He saw the look of despair. He put his arms around her, leading her to the couch. As they lay on the couch, she said to him, "You have all this, more than most people, and we are doing this? Why are we doing this? Are you willing to give all this up? Is your relationship with your wife that bad?" He told her that he and Shanann had drifted apart and they didn't talk anymore. He was not even sure in his own head that he believed that fully. Yet he could see the deficit in their relationship. He then told her that before he started seeing her, he and Shanann had actually decided to have a baby. More signs that he was having second thoughts. She freaked completely out, started yelling, "What the F are you doing with me then?" He saw something in her he had not seen before that made him take notice. "Your relationship couldn't be that bad if you and Shanann were trying to conceive." Even though he tried to get her to stay and talk to him, she left the house and went out to her truck and sat there for 30 minutes texting him. Whatever he said to her as he was texting back to her worked. In his words, he talked her off the cliff. She wanted him to make her feel better and to come after her. She wanted him to make her feel better and come after her, but he didn't. As he thought about it, he realized this is one of the things that turned him on about her. She allowed him to calm her down by telling her he did not want another baby with Shanann. He withheld the information that Shanann was already pregnant. He told her the plans to have another baby were before he had met Nikki. It had been a way to possibly save their marriage, but it wasn't working. I really don't think Shanann was looking at it that way. I believe she was thinking they decided together to have a third baby, and they were blessed it was going to be a boy. Nikki came back into the house. She told him he was the only man she ever met that tried to fix problems, smooth it over, and talk things through. He thought, ironically, he had never tried to do that with Shanann. He knew she probably wouldn't listen to him, yet he realized he didn't give her a chance. They had never really talked about things. He had always just let her make the decisions. Nikki asked him then to come over to her house like nothing had ever happened. They went back to her house and made love. She tried for it to be hot, passionate love and did some of the things that would normally turn him on, but this time their lovemaking felt different. He felt the guilt rush back to him, and he really didn't want to be there. When they made love, Nikki even felt it was different. They normally would have had sex 3 or 4 times a day. After that happened, she said their sex was down to only 1 to 2 times daily. When they finished making love, she told him, "I got mad because I thought I could give you your first son. When you told me you and your wife were trying to have a baby, that made me really mad and it scared me." That made him much more confident in his relationship with her. After all that, Chris and Nikki went to the Bandimere races on July 21st and camping in the mountains on July 28th and 29th. Okay, so that's that chapter. See, I for sure think that she went upstairs maybe that day and saw like baby stuff, maybe saw an ultrasound picture or saw something that showed her that Shanann was pregnant and she freaked out. I think that's what that's all about. I really do feel strongly that she went upstairs and saw something, baby clothes, something that was like, "Oh my God, Shanann's pregnant. You never told me," and probably freaked out, and that's probably when he told her that it wasn't his or whatever. Who knows? But I definitely think she saw something that confirmed that she was pregnant. Because why have a freak out just by like looking at pictures? She was over the house. She knew he had a family. She knew there was going to be family pictures. She wouldn't just freak out from seeing family pictures. She saw something that day. And I think it was confirmation that Shanann was pregnant. Okay, so let me see what else I want to read. I'll read this chapter 7 apart about the Oxycontin here. So the last family vacation. Although the world is... Oh, that's just a quote. Okay. The following couple of paragraphs has some... Oh, wait. Let me skip that. I don't have to read that part. Okay. When Chris was at the airport leaving for North Carolina, Nikki sent him a text telling him to take this time to fix the issues with your wife and enjoy time with your family. This gave him a warm feeling of no pressure, and he loved her for that. Oh, my God. The first night Chris arrived in North Carolina, Shanann needed something for a really bad headache. Chris told her he would get her something. Thinking she was taking an over-the-counter pain reliever, he gave her an 80 milligram of oxycodone. He said the pill made her sick. And Shanann was up vomiting most of the night. He didn't help her because he wanted her to lose the baby. He felt he had given her a large enough dose to miscarry. He texted Nikki that he wouldn't be able to call her, just text her. She replied to him, "Why not? Are you with her?" He thought she wanted him to spend time with his family. That put the pressure back on him. Obviously, she wanted him to spend time with her no matter what. Obviously, she wanted him to spend time with her no matter what. Chris was used to trying to please the woman he cared about. The next 8 days, he ignored his wife. At night, when she would want sex, he would leave the room. He was not intimate with Shanann during that entire week. He felt he had to do this in order to disappear so he could talk to Nikki for hours on the phone. When he returned from Colorado, he went to Nikki's using his work truck. That day, Nikki gave him a key to her place. She withheld from the FBI that she ever gave him the key to her house. It told him that she was ready to take the next steps forward in their relationship, so he told her he was moving forward with the separation. He promised Nikki his relationship with Shanann was going to end, even though he had not yet talked to Shanann about a separation. Shanann, in the hopes that they could fix their marriage, or at least work on it, ordered a book and had it mailed to him, hoping he would read it before she came home. When he got it, he didn't even open it. He just threw it in the garbage. Chris realized that day that he could not have Nikki and his family at the same time. It was the first time he realized it. It was time to get rid of what was standing in the way of him and Nikki's being together. And he could make that happen. He had his nerve up, but the nerve he had was not to talk to his wife about their problems, but to kill her. While in North Carolina, they had made plans to have a little family vacation at Myrtle Beach. The week he'd met Shanann and the girls in North Carolina, Shanann may have thought if they got away together for a few nights, they could talk things out and make things better. She tried to do that. By his account, she really wanted to talk, but he wouldn't give her any time to talk or try to come together. Chris was not willing, nor did he have any desire for things to work out between them. The only reason he was there was for the girls, not Shanann. Even the girls were on his nerves. He had very little patience with them. It was blatant. Anyone around him would have noticed he was aloof and unfriendly, very out of character for Chris. But even his 3- and 4-year-old spirits noticed the darkness in him. Their pure spirits could see or sense his dark spirit, and they did not have much to do with him. They did not want to hold his hand or walk and play with him on the beach. Normally they loved playing with their dad, and he loved playing with them. Not during these days, however. They basically didn't want anything to do with him, and he really didn't want much to do with them. The first time ever that he felt like that about the kids. Children can see things sometimes that adults cannot. They are innocent and pure. It's a belief in the paranormal community that the infants and small children are much more sensitive to someone that is evil or has evil intentions. It's believed they have more open mind as they don't have the mental barriers adults have developed. In order for a spirit to be seen by a human, the human needs to be open and non-judgmental. That describes children. The world hasn't touched them yet. Maybe at some point they still belong to that sweet, sinless spirit world from which they had come. They probably did not sense he was going to harm them, just his spirit being opposite of theirs, not necessarily something to fear. So when he left Nikki's the first day back from North Carolina, he had to hurry to meet Shanann for an ultrasound. And remember, that day he was late. Remember, Nicole Atkinson explains that in her interview, how they were waiting for Chris. He was running late, and when he came home, he just seemed like just angry, upset. He wasn't himself. He didn't say hi to her. Remember, she said, he didn't even say hi to me. He ignored me. He was just really cold. Like, that's just not how he normally was. So now we know he was coming home from NK's, and NK had just given him a key to her apartment. So anyway, what should have been a joyful time for them was met with almost a hatred for her and the baby. As they were doing the ultrasound, he could see a new life moving. He felt indifferent and cold towards Shanann and the baby. He did not let the event register in his mind. Here was his son, the son he always wanted, but he felt nothing for him. Shanann reached out to take his hand in support, but he pulled away. He wanted no part of her or this baby. He wanted a different life. Can you imagine how hurt that she must have been feeling, like reaching out for his hand and he pulls it away at a time like that? Oh man, I can't even imagine. Chris went back to work and things carried on as they had before they left. He tried to act as usual around his coworkers. Shanann believed they were better, or at least taking small steps towards better. When he met Shanann later that day for her ultrasound, Shanann was excited. She gave a friend the envelope that revealed the gender of the baby and had invited friends over for the big reveal. The gender of the baby and, oh yeah, Never mind, I read that twice. Okay. Chris was obviously not happy. So since it would have been awkward in front of all their friends that they were not the usual couple they had always been, she canceled the party. Let me... I guess I could continue reading. Okay. A day or so later, she asked that friend to return the envelope, and she texted Chris. He texted back that he would like to find out with her the gender of their baby. When she answered yes, she texted back. Oh, wait. Hold on. I read that wrong. A day later, so she asked that friend to return the... I skipped a thing. Okay. Well, that's skipped. Basically, she asks him, remember, she asks him if he wants to know the gender of the baby, and he says yes, if he wants to find out with her. And then she texted back she loves him so much. He did not respond. Later, she asked him to hold her or hug her. He refused. Chris was cold and shut her out. She said they were talking some, so she thought things were a little better since he found out the baby was a boy. However, he was trying to make things work for his advantage. He was thinking about killing her and the girls. At what point does a person allow their fantasies to change to reality? In this case, it changed soon thereafter. Later that evening, as they were getting ready for bed, Shanann brought up how cold he was when she wanted to hold his hand. He told her his head was just not in the right place, and he couldn't deal with her right now. He told her he would be sleeping on the couch. She said to him, whatever's going on, or whoever she is, know that you will never see the kids again, so make sure she's worth it. With that, she slammed the door with him on the other side. He waited until he figured she was asleep and called Nikki. He slept on the couch that night. The next night, he stayed in the basement to call Nikki from there. He had decided his marriage was over, but had not told his wife. Shanann knew that the fight between her and Chris's parents, had really affected him, so she sent pictures of the ultrasound to Ronnie and Cindy, introducing them to their grandson, trying to start to rebuild what had been torn down. They said they did not respond to her. Nikki was excited where things were going and started to tell her friends about Chris. He decided he needed to delete his Facebook. He knew that her friends might see Shanann was pregnant. Taking down his Facebook was a further signal to Shanann that something was wrong. This was a definite red flag. It was still important that she save her marriage, so she did what she knew best. She booked a couple's weekend in the mountains. She found someone to watch the girls, and Chris agreed to it, but already knew he would not be going. He said he went along with it to satisfy her for the moment. He was already planning how to kill her and the girls and was daydreaming about getting rid of his baggage and starting a new life with Nikki. With his new life, he would be able to dump all the things of the old life, the house mortgage, his big bills, his family. This was not logical or normal by any means. Why was he not able to see that none of this was reality and had huge consequences? It was possible that being wrapped up in the web of lies because of this affair kept him from looking at things logically. Yet, of course, not every affair ends in murder. So Shanann, let me see how many other spots. I should read them. I should skip to the, hold on one second, guys. I guess I could continue. I didn't realize I marked off this much of it to read. Okay, so Shanann had thought about canceling the trip to Arizona with Thrive. She was going to a Thrive convention with some of the girls on her downline. Her heart was just not in it, since they had just been apart for so many weeks and things had not gone well. Yet Chris did agree to go away with her the next weekend, just the two of them, and she had told a friend they seemed to be heading in the right direction. Chris did not want her to cancel. He saw an open door to be able to see Nikki, so he told Shanann to go ahead and go on her trip and they would talk when she got home. See, that's why he was being all sweet to her, because he wanted to convince her, like, oh, things are fine, so she didn't cancel that trip so he could see Nikki that weekend. There's always an intention with this sick guy. Anyway, this gave her a flicker of hope that things may be getting better, so feeling somewhat relieved, she decided to go ahead and go to Arizona for her job. This weekend was hard for Shanann. Her pregnancy, her morning sickness, her marital problems were all she could think about, and he wouldn't even touch her. She loved their life and didn't want it to end. She didn't want to raise these 3 kids alone. Shanann was a person... who seemed to love life and the people in her life, and she wasn't ready to stop fighting for her marriage. But unfair as it was, she didn't know what or who she was fighting. With things being stressful and confusing while living a double life, Chris felt God gave him 3 chances to turn around from the affair and the things he was planning in his mind. He had those chances to turn everything around, and none of these things would have happened. One evening on his way to Nikki's house, he felt God urging him to turn around and not to do this, but he kept going, knowing the whole way there he should turn around and not go to her place. All of a sudden, his car started to skid like it was going to run off the road. He almost lost control, knowing immediately God was trying to turn him around. There was no other explanation for why he started to lose control of his car. He knew this was his first chance God gave him to get out of the situation. Chris put it well when he said, "We always think something new feels better than the something old." It didn't take long for Chris to find out the old was much more appealing and comfortable than the something new. When Chris talked to Shanann during the 5-week time period that she was in North Carolina, he became more and more distant with her. As much as possible, he would ignore her calls and texts and came up with excuses why he didn't answer her. He was building that wall between them, so it was easier to forget he had a family. She didn't understand and started to question the distance being put between them. He had always been so good and attentive to her. She even told one of her friends that before she left, he couldn't keep his hands off of her, and now he would barely talk to her. I think she realized how much she loved Chris and wanted to make things right between them. Had she taken the girls and gotten on a plane and gone home? Had she taken the girls and gotten on the plane and gone home, it might have changed everything. Yet his actions were so different than anything he had ever shown before. He was either trying to rid himself of guilt by going to Nikki's, or he didn't have any guilt at all, which is very possible since he did not feel remorse or guilt after he killed them. He was falling out of love with Shanann, and in its place were only the thoughts of trying to get rid of her and the kids. He now thought he had fallen in love with Nikki, or he was in love with the way Nikki treated him. Nikki was not like anyone else he had ever met. He loved her touch, her conversation, her beauty. He thought she brought out the best in him, yet she actually was bringing the darkness out of him. He had an addictive craving for her when he wasn't with her. Shanann was not one to coddle him or give in to his actions, but she knew this was not the Chris she had always known and loved, so she did try to be kind and more attentive to him. Something had drastically changed between them, and it wasn't someone else. And if it wasn't someone else, she could not figure what it could possibly be. With this looming over her, she must have felt such a heavy weight over her. She was about to be blindsided, even though she was being warned by her friends that she should find out if he was seeing someone. Her friends urged her to ask him if there was someone else, and later that month, she did start asking him. She asked him daily, several times. Her insecurities were coming out. She had never worried about Chris cheating on her or making her feel anything but important to him. He would only answer he didn't know what was going on in his head, but no, there was no one else. He kept making excuses for being tired or would say he fell asleep early. It seems the last thing she considered was him having an affair. No, the last thing she considered was him murdering his 2 daughters and her. She trusted him and believed he had always been truthful with her. She even told a friend Chris didn't have game. She did not think it was possible for him to love anyone but her. That's the kind of trust she had in him. That's the way he had always made her feel, and she made him feel the same, she thought. Okay, so let me actually skip to hold on a second. The actual confession. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to skip to, so this is the chapter that includes the confession about what he did to the girls and about him doing it twice. I mean, I'm sure you guys all heard about that. The ones that haven't read the book, I'm sure you heard about this confession. Okay, so let me just see what the chat's doing. Holy mackerel. Oh my God, there's a lot of people in here. I've been looking down reading the book. I haven't even looked up. I was like, wonder if there's anybody even listening still. And I look up and I was like, wow. All right, let me continue. So I'm about to read chapter 10, the night before, and then that goes into the confession. Okay, sorry. Gotta keep hydrated, guys. Okay. Alrighty, here we go. On Saturday night, August 11th, Shanann had less than 36 hours to live. Oh, man. Did she start to feel her life was almost over? Research shown people do not have a clue. Shanann's friends all have said she was sick all weekend and was throwing up. Her friends talked about how she just wasn't herself. She was down, not fun-loving as usual. Shanann was usually the life of the party, but not this weekend. Little did she know she was about to step into eternity, and everything she had done in her life, every friendship she had made, and everything she had accomplished was about to come to an abrupt end. Soon the reality and sadness would set into her family as they realized she is now a memory. As we could look around her house and see her things, her closet of clothes and shoes, her furniture, even her pantry, and all of this belonged to a vibrant young woman who thought she had the world in front of her. Someone who planned on living, not dying. Shanann seemed to have touched the lives of so many people. She struggled with her own health issues, but kept going. Now she is gone, and all that's left are memories, good and bad. But the one true thing that remains is the insatiable sadness. What she thought was a perfect life at one time and the thoughts she shared about Chris being the perfect husband were about to be all taken away by that perfect husband. Yeah, wow. He was someone that his family loved, adored, and trusted. On Saturday, August 12, 2018, a good day by all accounts, Shanann was in Phoenix, Arizona at a Thrive weekend convention. Chris was with Bella and Cece, who for the last couple of weeks had steadily gotten on his nerves. He didn't remember any other time the girls were bothering him so much. He would have rather been with Nikki, and she was all he could think about, causing him to feel the girls were rubbing his last nerve. One thing he can't explain is how he felt so pulled towards her when he wasn't with her. The birthday party was nice, but he really couldn't concentrate on anything that was going on around him. He was in a fog. This back was. Okay, so he was in a fog. Where am I? Okay. Yet it was helping to pass the time, and it kept the girls occupied. Shanann forgot to tell him there would be water balloons and the kids would be playing with water, so he didn't bring their swimsuits and towels. They had a lot of fun anyway. They laughed and squealed along with the other kids. This was the last party and the last playing in the water they would ever have. While they were playing with the water balloons and squealing in the fun, he watched them, but it didn't even register with him. He planned to kill them the next morning. He said he really didn't want to, but knew that he would. The plan to I can't even. Well, let me see something. Hold on, though. I just realized I might have the wrong mic on. No, I have the right one. Whew, okay. I was like, oh my God, don't tell me I got through this whole thing and I have my camera mic. Okay. Yeti. Okay. Yeah, I got the right one. Whew, okay. Now, where was I? I know I was at the annihilate. Why can't I even say that word right now? Normally I can, and I can't even say it, and I don't even know where I am at. Hold on. Have you ever had that where, like, you can't say a word for some reason? But anyway, I think we get the point. He was planning on getting rid of his family, and dispose of them was not a well-thought-out plan. Oh, he's saying the plan was not a well-thought-out plan, one that would include hiding evidence. Chris did not even try to hide all the evidence. When asked about that, he said he didn't know what he was doing. Nothing made sense. It didn't help things that day that Nikki kept texting him, telling him she wanted him and she wanted to see him. It kept his mind active with thoughts of killing his family and clearing the state and starting over. See, where is all those texts at? You know, where are all those texts? Like, because that was from the day, and supposedly we have that days of text, right? If she was texting him a bunch that day, gosh, I would love to see him. But I know we all want to see him. Anyway, how could he think he could do something like this and just get away with it and start over like his family never existed? But wait, he even said he didn't delete any of his texts. So why aren't they in his texts, guys? Remember, he said, Nikki told me to delete all mine, but I didn't delete the text. And he said, oh, it probably helped you guys out, huh? Well, where are all these? Because we didn't see these ones. Anyway, this part of his thinking was an illusion. We can see how all of this does not make sense. Chris has an IQ of 140, guys. And if that's true, that's a high IQ. Anyway, so it basically it says that he's a genius on scale. Because a genius is 140 and over. At least that's what it says in the book. And I mean, I'm sure she quoted the right, information. I know 140 is high. Why was I thinking like 130 would be a genius? But maybe it starts at 140. Anyway, possibly his genius brain did not afford him common sense. Yeah. Oh, shoot. Anyway, after they came home from the party, he grilled some chicken breasts, even packed his lunch for the next day, and cleaned the kitchen. He bathed the girls, read them bedtime stories, and put them down for the night. He spent the next hour and a half or so talking on the phone with Nikki. According to Chris, they had phone sex. The police records show this call lasted for 111 minutes. She had a hold on me, pulling me into her. I couldn't escape. She was like a drug that you get hooked on, and I couldn't get enough. He didn't want to stay with Shanann and the girls another day. Nikki was all I could think about. Chris was that close to Nikki, and yet the night before the murders, when he clearly was planning on killing his family the next morning, he didn't say anything to her about it. And I know a lot of you guys think that's a lie, and I'm wondering too. Anyway, he had planned on what he was going to do or what he was going to say to her to make sense of what happened to his family. So he's planning on what he was going to say to NK. When he tucked his little girls into bed that night, he said he knew it would be the last time he would tuck them in. Again, he said he didn't want it to be, but he knew it would be. Wouldn't a person know he can't create a life with someone and then after a while decide he is bored and just throw them away? The pain and destruction of a divorce is awful. None of that, though, is as destructive as killing the entire family. There has to be something evil that could cause a man to disregard his family to this degree. As those babies went to sleep that night, hopefully their minds didn't feel any differently than any other night. Usually once they went to bed, they stayed in their beds and went to sleep. They had an early nap that day and a busy day afterwards. They should have fallen asleep quickly. However, Bella kept getting out of the bed, wanting to know when her mommy was coming home. To snuff out the innocent lives of two little girls makes no sense at all. Two little girls that loved and trusted their daddy to protect them from harm. Who was the very one who snuffed out their lives? Yeah, the one that was supposed to protect them is the one that snuffed out their lives. And talking to Chris now, he would be the first to tell you how senseless and unjust it is. Chris will say today, if a friend had been there to tell him he needed to come to his senses and wake up and stop this affair and put his life back together, he would have probably listened to them. Of course, no one knew about his affair, and no one knew to what an extent he was living a double life. On the morning of August 13th, Chris checked out of his mind and allowed the thoughts he had been entertaining to become a reality. What was inside of him seemed to have taken over. The monster that had been growing needed to satisfy its craving for a human soul, several human souls. Now it was too late, and the most unbelievable and dark act was about to play out on 2825 Saratoga Trail in the beautiful little town of Frederick, Colorado. Shanann texted him that her plane was delayed. It would be very late before she'd be home. This was disappointing to Chris, since he wanted to talk to her about everything, and felt he had his nerve up. He had played it over and over in his mind. When he thought about talking to her, his heart would race. He knew he was going to kill her, but he said he did not want to. Why, if he didn't want to, would he have chosen to anyway? One can only imagine the conflict of a mind if it to contemplate doing such a horrible thing. What torment to plan the killing of your family. And that's funny. If that's his words, like he's like, oh my God, what torment. Like I had to plan this. Oh my God. Like victim again. If you look at it like playing the victim, poor you had to plan to kill your family. How horrible. Are you kidding me? Anyway, Chris says this is just not who he has ever been and does not know what could make him do such a horrible thing. After, to blame it on Shanann confused everything and made it worse. So he's saying the fact, that first confession that Kim's saying is so accurate. He's saying that the fact that he blamed Shanann just made it even worse. This was not fair to Shanann's or his own family. It is possible he did not have a good memory of what happened, not at first anyway. Most likely the trauma could have caused the memory loss. He says after he killed Shanann, he trembled all the way to the oil site. As we seen on the neighbor's video camera, he looked scared and guilty. It seems as though he knew that camera was pointing to him. Wait, I don't think he looked scared and guilty at all. I don't know. I don't agree. I don't think he looks scared or guilty on the camera at all, though. But anyway. But yeah, he definitely knew the camera was pointing at him. Research shows that physical and emotional trauma can directly affect a person's memory. A condition causes temporary memory loss to help a person cope with a traumatic event. If the brain registers an overwhelming trauma, then it can essentially block that memory in a process called disassociation or detachment from reality. It is similar to being lost in the middle of a good book, daydreaming at work, or playing a video game. Then it's experiencing a common form of mild dissociation. See, I don't know why I don't agree that it was even traumatic for him, because I don't believe that he felt like that much emotion towards them, and that him doing that really was that traumatic for him. I don't know why I don't feel like that. I feel like that he's like heartless. I don't know. However, over time, severe trauma can change the brain. The area that controls memory, the hippocampus, becomes smaller. The night before the murders, Chris knew the next morning was going to be the day he would rid his life of his family. He thought it would free him to be with Nikki. Shanann was leaving the Arizona airport and leaving her group of Thrive friends for the last time. There would be an empty place at the Thrive conventions from now on. The empty seat would be missed, as many of them were the downline to Shanann. In the months ahead, it would be her father and brother that would stand on stage at the Thrive convention and accept the award that would have been hers, that she had worked tirelessly for. The business that she had built and the friends she made would be gone in an instant, only about 6 hours from the time she left Arizona. So this goes on to Chapter 11, Home for the Last Time. The weather report for early morning, August 13th, 2018, in Frederick, Colorado, clear skies, temps in the middle 60s, light winds 15 miles per hour. So, quiet Monday. Following in the footsteps of the past weekend, this week began with calm conditions remaining across the state of Colorado. A cut-off low-pressure system had developed across southeast Colorado and would slowly move northeastward over the next few days. The ridge center near Las Vegas has eroded and weakened significantly. Okay. In the middle of the night, Shanann and her friend left the airport on their way home after a trip to Arizona with Thrive. To Shanann, this probably seemed like the weekend that would never end. She probably thought if she could do it over, she would have stayed home. As they pulled into the subdivision where the Watts family lived, it was about 1:48 a.m. How could Shanann have known this would be the last time she would take this street to go home? She was tired, feeling sick, and probably wanted to get home to her family and crawl into bed. It weighing heavily on her mind was how she was going to save her marriage. She must have wondered if she was facing a life as a single mom and how she would do. She just wanted to be home, though in the safety of her family. She probably felt grieved as she thought about having to give up her home and the life she had built with Chris. Most likely she searched her heart and mind as to how to repair the way that she had always treated him and taken him for granted. And we saw in her text that she was thinking about that, and she was like, I'm going to try to be better. I'm going to try to be more thoughtful and pay more attention to him. She was aware and she was going to fix it, man. We all have faults, you know. She was aware of hers, though. That's the thing. And she wanted to try to change and be better. But anyway, As Shanann got out of her friend's car, she opened the back door and pulled out her bag. As she shut the car door, she could feel the night air in her face, about 66 degrees with a breeze of about 15 miles per hour. This would be the last time Shanann would feel the Colorado clean air, the last time she would wave goodbye to her friend. Thinking about the finality of that gives one chills. It was a beautiful night. She could hear the crickets and the summer nighttime bug noises. The neighborhood slept, having no idea what was going on right next to them. The nighttime sky was lit in millions of stars. The moon was almost blackened out with only 8% showing, so the only light to light her way up her driveway and onto the porch was the outside lights that Chris had left on for her. Leaving the outside lights on for your husband signifies, I'm glad you're home safe, I'm waiting for you. Many spouses have used this for years as being a sign of love for each other. The darkness that had hovered over her husband and her home was waiting for her on the inside. The video from their doorbell camera shows her walking up to the door. Knowing what we do now, it's chilling to watch her walk up into her death. It was the last time Shanann would ever walk up the steps to her beautiful home, a place she had felt safe and that she and the girls loved. As she walked through that front door, the shadow that waited for her would follow her in and cover her like a heavy blanket. That shadow welcomed her as she walked in the front door and slipped off her flip-flops. Doubtful she had any feeling this would be the last time she would come in their front door and up the stairs that would lead her to the evil monster. When the police officers entered the Watts house for the first time, they saw there Shanann's flip-flops sitting by the front door. That was a tell-all. This truly was a sign of a mother who came home and never left. She had made a home, not just a house. In better times, Chris said she always made it feel like love dwelled there. She would have never even considered the evil that actually was lurking there for her, just waiting for her to walk in the door and into the hands of the evil that lay just ahead and just beyond that door. She probably looked in on her babies without having any idea that would be the last time she would see them on this earth. She undressed, put on a t-shirt, too tired to even take her makeup off, slipped into bed next to Chris, the evil monster. Had she known that would be the last time she would see her babies, she probably would have gone to each of them and laid next to them and sweetly kissed each of them, telling them she would see them in heaven in a few hours. As these gentle, pure souls were sleeping, they were totally unaware their father, whom they loved and trusted, would be doing the most unspeakable things to them in just a little while. These happy, trusting little girls were cuddled up in their beds, looking forward to seeing their mommy when they woke up. But they never saw her again. Not alive, anyway. It hurts to think that they would be aware of what happened. It's the worst thing anyone could possibly go through, let alone such innocent little souls. His plan was to quietly rid them from his life. It might have been symbolic of his own silence. His victims, his children, became surrogates for his rage and a means by which to exact his revenge, but Shanann became the first object of his rage. No one would suspect the anger he harbored inside. Take a sip of water, guys. Okay. She kind of goes back and forth a little bit, though, so now it's going back. Now it's going to on February 18th, and that's the day of his Dodge confession. It says 2019, 3 agents from the CBI, and Frederick Police showed up at the prison where Chris was an inmate at Waupun, Wisconsin. He was not expecting them and was not happy with the no notice. He needed to clear Shanann's name, he said. He told them the truth about his killing the girls himself, but did not give them the other details surrounding it all. At the time, he did not tell the truth about how he killed Shanann. Even after they questioned him several times about how he killed her, obviously thought there was more to the story. Hold on a second. Okay. A couple months after first approaching Chris, he decided he would tell me the truth about what happened during the morning of August 13th, 2018. when this endeavor began, that at some point he would give me his true confession, because somehow I knew there was more to the story. Since he had already pleaded guilty, it would do him no harm. Yet I wasn't ready for what I was about to learn. That's one of the reasons I want you to read it in his own words. His confession in the letter that follows is a huge and shocking surprise. Below is a letter that Chris wrote me, telling in part what he never told the FBI. Warning, for those who are affected by the details of these murders, the following is very hard to read. I spent much time trying to decide what was best thing to do with this information. Finally deciding if this were my family, I would want and deserve to have a full disclosure. So here's the letter that he wrote. So he wrote it was April 23rd, so that's the date that he wrote it, 2019. Dear Sherilyn, hello again. I hope you're doing well. It has been awesome talking with you on the phone, but I know the 15-minute time frame is a pain. Sometimes I could get right back on the phone, but right now there are other inmates that like to be on the phone as much as I do. So I respect their time as well. How's your dad doing? I've been praying on that every day. Yet that petition really blew my mind, that people really want to make me suffer like that. Even if they did ever take my pictures. They took his pictures, okay. Even if they did ever take my pictures, they can't take my memories. An inmate from another institution wrote me about that subject and said, if they take your pictures, they would need to take the pictures from the other 500 to 600 people that have their family pictures up on their cell, convicted of the same act. So remember, there was a big petition taking his pictures down from his cell of his family, because those were his victims too. Not only his family, those are his victims. So that's what he's talking about. Anyway, do I feel like I should be incarcerated for the act I committed? I most definitely think so. Do I imagine myself ever doing anything like this or be a danger to society? I most definitely think not. If I were to ever be released, I know I would go straight to a ministry and start going to jails and prisons and help inmates. If God led me to be ordained, I would go that route as well, possibly even a chaplain. Maybe the laws will change one day. My attorney team could see I was different and knew that this was a one-time occurrence for me. They told me that in Europe, the law is I would serve 20 years or so for homicide, and in California, after 25 years in imprisonment on a life sentence, you can be released if you had good behavior. So there's hope for everyone to live outside prison walls. I know physically I'm behind these walls, but my spirit is free with Christ. If God keeps putting it in your heart that there is more to the story than what I told the FBI has, you're correct. So he's saying you're correct. There's more to the story. I don't like saying stuff like that over the phone because I'm never certain when they screen my calls. I know I already told you the vision I had before August 13th, when I was lying in bed and all the lights were on the loft and downstairs. All the lights were on in the loft and downstairs, and I felt so alone. That's exactly what happened April 14th when I was lying in bed. I don't know if you want this in the book or if God does, but there are the things I left out. August 12th, when I finished putting the girls to bed, I walked away and said, that's the last time I'm going to be tucking my babies in. I knew that was going to happen the day before, and I did nothing to stop it. I was numb to the entire world. I had literally taken my kids to a birthday party, played with the water balloons, had an amazing time, sang songs all the way home, gave them a bath, a shower, ate dinner, read bedtime stories, and sang bedtime songs, and still nothing registered. When Shanann had to be somewhere, I always enjoyed taking the girls places or playing outside because it was our opportunity to bond. And still, the night before, I couldn't stop myself from what I knew would occur the next morning. August 13th, morning of. I went to the girls' room first before Shanann and I had our argument. I went to Bella's room, then Cece's room, and I used a pillow from their bed to kill them. That's why the cause of death was smothering. After I left Cece's room, then I climbed back in bed with Shanann, and our argument ensued. After Shanann had passed, Bella and Cece woke back up. I'm not sure how they woke back up, but they did. Bella's eyes were bruised, and both girls looked like they had been through trauma. Yeah, you trying to freaking smother them. Yeah, they've been through trauma. That made the act that much worse, knowing I went to their rooms first and knowing I still took their lives at the location of the batteries. The reason the medical examiner found oxycodone in Shanann's system is because I gave it to her. I thought it would be easier to be with Nicole if Shanann wasn't pregnant, which we don't understand that. When this first came out, we didn't understand why he said that because there wasn't oxycodone in her toxicology. So I don't know where he got that information, but that just shows you how much of a liar he is. He just made it up because he thought it said that. He thought the toxicology said oxycodone, so let me say I just gave her one that night. Anyway, because she goes on to in the book and says that he says it, because I'm not going to read that part, but he says twice that he gave it to her, but then when she asks him again, he says only the night in North Carolina he gave her Oxycontin, not the night before. Anyway, let me finish. I don't know if this was a spiritual visit, but I had a dream Cece was dancing next to the chair in my cell. When she was dancing, all of my folders on the chair started moving, and I thought she was in trouble. So I said, "Watch out, get away, watch out." Then I woke up. I'm hoping she comes back. I hope everyone comes to visit me. I'm trying to see if I can clear my head better before I go to sleep to help. I like that John 10:10 passage you sent. Oh, I like the John 10 passage you sent. I wish I could have had an open ear to hear the Lord calling me back in June, July, and August. If we run after sin, we won't hear our shepherd calling us. I couldn't discern between the good spirits and the evil spirits, and that eventually lodged me into a deep pit I couldn't climb back out of. After receiving this letter from Chris, I had many questions, as you can imagine. These are the things he told me after I had received this letter. I asked him about the oxy. Oh, I guess it is in this part. Sorry, guys. He told me first that he gave it to her twice, once at her parents' and the second time right before he killed her. At that time, he told me that's the reason she couldn't fight back. Later, when I questioned him about it again, he said he only gave it to her once. I asked him where he got the oxy, and he told me that it is one of the things he will take to his death. One minute, we would talk about downsizing the house and getting more affordable. And this is him talking. 1 minute we would talk about downsizing the house and getting something more affordable in a more affordable town. Then we would go back to me telling her I was going to get an apartment and move out on my own for a while. Shanann started crying because she did not want to separate, telling me she loved me. I hate so much that I came back to her with, I don't love you. So when they're arguing that morning, he tells her he doesn't love her, and I'm not compatible with you anymore. As she was crying with her mascara running down her face, she told me she couldn't make it in Colorado by herself with 3 kids. Isn't it weird how I look back and what I remember so much is her face getting all black with streaks of mascara? There was no feeling coming from me as I told her I could help her and she would make it. What kind of man or father could callously say that to his pregnant wife, who is almost begging to keep her family together? Then she became very angry and was very upset and told me if I left her, she would not allow me to see the kids. She was used to getting her way, and when she saw she wasn't, she would revert, as always, to anger and threats to get what she wanted. This time, though, I was not giving in to her demands. That's when my anger for her began. Years of her telling me what to do and what not to do, keeping me from my own family for sometimes months at a time, were over. Keeping me in the background was over. All the weeks of me thinking about killing her, and now I was faced with it. When she started to get drowsy, I somehow knew how to squeeze the jugular veins until it cut off the blood flow to her brain, and she passed out. It was even easier than the girls. She lay there and didn't fight back. I held the jugular for what seemed like a very long time. I watched my hands and thought I should take them off her neck, but I couldn't. I knew it. If I took my hands off of her, she would still keep me from Nikki. They asked me why she didn't fight back. It's because she couldn't fight back. Her eyes filled with blood as she looked at me, and she died. I knew she was gone when she relieved herself. I was wrapping her up in the bedsheet, and the girls came walking into the room. I don't know how it could be possible, but they were both up and walking around. I knew if Nikki and I were going to be together, I had to kill all of them. I wrapped Shanann in the sheet, and Bella kept asking me what was wrong with Mommy. Both girls started crying. Both girls looked like they had been through something. I knew it was because of being smothered. I could not comfort my girls. I had no desire to. I think I told her Mommy would be okay. She just didn't feel good.
I tried to carry Shanann down the stairs, but I lost my grip on her twice and she was too heavy for me to carry. She fell to the floor, and I ended up kind of sliding her down the stairs. The girls were just kind of running around the house and watching me with scared looks on their faces. Bella started to cry, and when she did, Celeste started whimpering. What a nightmare this was. This is the reason I killed them first, so they did not have to witness any of this. Aw, that's so nice of you, Chris. I wanted to take them peacefully and make it so much easier for them and for me. Now I didn't know what I was going to do. I got Shanann down the stairs and laid her by the back door. I ran outside and backed up my truck in the driveway. As I was moving the truck, I realized that everything I had thought about was about to be completed. I was angry with the girls that they were up and awake, and I felt angry for Shanann that I could have killed anything that got in my way. My hands were shaking so hard, and my knees were buckling under me. I felt like I was seeing through a dark screen. It was too late. I was in this nightmare, and it wouldn't let me out. I realized now the girls getting up and walking around may have been God's third attempt to stop what I was doing. It was too late. It was too late, though. I couldn't stop. Something had taken me, and I couldn't pull back from it. I gathered my things I would need, such as my lunch, a shovel, and a rake from the garage. And something wanted me to take the gas can from the garage. I still do not know why I took the gas can. The FBI asked me if I was going to take my own life, and I told them I thought about it, but honestly, no. I was not going to take my own life. I got Shanann out to the truck by mostly dragging her. Once at the truck, I lifted her in the back and laid her on the floor. I went around to the other side and pulled her across the back floor. The stench of her relieving herself was so strong that to this day I can smell it and it makes me sick. Now I'm not sure if it's the stench of her relieving herself or if it was the stench of death. At some point I grabbed a couple of garbage bags and put them around Shanann's feet and around her head. I ran back in and cut some lights and told the girls to follow me. I was shocked when later that day I was standing in the neighbor's living room looking at their security camera video and thought everyone could see the girls walk up to me, and I put them in the truck. I loaded them in the back seat. Bella said they couldn't ride with me because they didn't have their car seats. I remember telling her this time it's all right. It hurts, but I remember being so mad they were still alive. The girls sat curled up with each other. I noticed they were consoling each other, kind of whimpering but not really crying. The only thing they talked about was why did it stink in the truck. I could not believe that they came back to life. Now I had this to deal with for the second time, plus Shanann. I was still shaking and in a sweat, and my heart rate was pounding so hard in my chest. I didn't know what to do next. I didn't know what I was even doing. Nothing made sense to me. I had not planned this out carefully enough. I remember just feeling so angry, a feeling and an emotion I had never experienced before. It took me an hour to get to the site, and I had not calmed down at all. The rest of the story you know. I dumped Shanann on the ground, then I walked back to the truck, and with the blanket that Celeste was holding, I put it over her head and smothered her. I carried her up the stairs, I opened the hatch, and I was surprised how small the opening was. I lifted her up and down into the hole. She went in pretty smoothly. I remembered as I was lowering her body that I would never see her again. But instead of the love I had always had for her, numbness was in its place. I could not feel anything for her. I couldn't believe how easily it was just to let her drop through the hole and let her go. I heard the splash as she hit the oil. Then, without blinking an eye, I went right back to my truck and went over to Bella. She asked me if I was going to do to her what I had just done to Celeste. I don't think I answered her. I just put the same blanket over her head and smothered her. I could not believe, though, how much of a fight she put up. Little quiet Bella had a will to live. Nothing registered in my head for her. Out of all three, Bella is the only one that put up a fight. I will hear her soft little voice for the rest of my life saying, "Daddy, no." She knew what I was doing to her. She may not have understood that, but she knew I was killing her. I was so empowered at the time. I had the strength to climb those stairs for the second time and put her little body through the hole in the next tank. Bella was harder to get down the hole. Her arms and shoulders did not want to fit through the hole, so I had to force her through the hatch. They told me they found a tuft of blonde hair. I would suspect that's when that happened. I did separate them purposely. I was trying to get them as far away from Shanann as possible. I guess I put them in the tanks to make sure this time they didn't get up. I don't know why, except for the anger I felt. You asked me why I was so angry with Shanann? It was a couple of reasons. I was angry that she kept me from my family, and I was angry because she was standing in the way of me being truly happy with someone I wanted to be with. Had I not killed them when I got home that afternoon from work, Shanann would not have let me in my own house. She would have locked the doors or had the locks changed to show me she was in control still. I would have had to make a scene, which is something I did not want to do for the neighbors to see. I had to put the girls in the tanks so they wouldn't get up the second time. Oh, he didn't want to make a scene, right? Oh my God. Oh, I don't want to make a scene of her locking me out of the house, but I'll just murder my family? Did he think what kind of scene that would make? That is the stupidest thing. Oh my God. I hate him. Anyway, so yeah, he put the girls in the tanks. Yeah, so he put them in there so they wouldn't get up the second time, man. I then went and dug a hole for Shanann. The dirt was loose and I remember easy to move. When I dug the hole, it seemed a lot deeper than it was. As I pulled on the sheet, she rolled out and into the hole. I think she had given birth. She landed face down. I remember being so angry with her that I was not going to change how she landed. I didn't think about if the hole was deep enough, or if I had the hole in the right place, or if I made sure to pick everything up so there was nothing left lying around. I realized I had just murdered my daughters twice. I still don't understand how that happened, because I know they were dead the first time. My entire life lay there on that oil site. All I could feel was now I was free to be with Nikki. Feelings of my love for her was overcoming me. I felt no remorse. The darkness inside of me had won. It was still in me, though. I thought maybe permanently. I felt evil, swallowed up by this inside of me. I felt like I could kill anything and be justified for doing it. I didn't feel any remorse for what I did. I didn't feel bad for killing my entire family. I really didn't feel anything. My mind went to the dog. Did I remember to put him in the cage? What possible horror could have been going through those precious little minds at that time? Not understanding, but understanding enough to know something was horribly wrong. Not being comforted by their mommy or even their daddy. Having hopes in their little minds. I'm sure that mommy was going to be fine and then they would be back home in just a little while. They had no concept of what was truly happening or lying just ahead of them, just as Shanann had no idea what she was walking into. I believe they were probably very afraid. After Chris killed his family and drove away, Nikki texted him to look up the song by Metallica band called Battery. I challenge you to look up the lyrics of this song. I find it interesting that we should believe it's only a coincidence. After Chris wrote this letter to me, I asked him if he really put the girls in the oil battery so he can make sure they didn't wake back up the second time. He replied, yeah, it seems. Chris went back to work that day like it was a normal day. Later, when interviewed, his coworkers said he acted like it was a normal day. They noticed nothing different about him, all except they said his clothes were not as neat as normal. They mentioned how he usually came to work looking very well put together. Okay, so I think that's about all I'm going to read right for tonight. Let me just see what else I marked off. Yeah, that's all. 1 second. Yeah, that's all I'm going to read. Well, he's never felt before. I'll just read this other paragraph, just this one first paragraph of chapter 16, and then that'll be it. Because that's it. Then I'll have read everything I marked off to read. Okay. It says, he felt a lot of anger, something he says he never felt before, but that was only the emotion he felt. He said he did not feel remorse. Originally, when talking to the CBI and Frederick police, he said in his confession that he killed Shanann in a blind rage. Chris now says there was no rage. He was angry with Shanann over her not allowing him to see his family. When talking to the authorities, even when talking about his children, he felt nothing for them. He says it did not even register with him that his family was gone. It's not normal that a person never felt anger in his life, but Chris says until that morning he never felt the emotion of anger. While growing up, he said he never got into fights, never was in any kind of trouble. Chris shows signs of alexithymia. I don't even know what that is. I have to look that up. Alexithymia, the inability to express emotion or to understand others' emotion. I didn't even know that was the name of it. Okay. Yeah, I believe that. On August 14th, around 7 p.m., the police conducted the first official interview with Chris. And sometimes Chris's answers were not coherent, yet this is the actual interview. And she just writes the interview. Okay. Whew. Okay, so what do you guys think? I'm probably not going to stay on too much longer. I just wanted to read that to you. And then if you guys heard like some of the interesting parts of that book. So if you have any questions for her, that interview is going to be tomorrow. Hopefully maybe that will help you come up with some questions, because I'm having trouble coming up with questions. I'm just going to wing it and hope, like, as she's talking, I could think of questions. I'm going to have Jill up there on panel with me. She said she has a list of questions. And I think Barb said a few of you guys sent in some questions, but other than that, I think I'm going to wing it, and unless a few guys could send me in some questions. How is everybody? Wow, there's a lot of people here. I know, Barb, I kind of have to like block out, like dissociate in a way to read this, sometimes read some of this stuff. Oh, man. Anyway, hey, Demon Child. Hey, Ruby. Hey, everybody. All right, guys. I think I am going to go because I got to get up early for a doctor's appointment, and then I want to get some good sleep. So I'm clear-headed for this interview tomorrow, and I could think of some good questions. But I'm good, Kira Angela. Thanks for asking. Yeah, email me. Barb, I'm sure she's put up the email. And for some reason, if you missed the email, her email, you guys have my email. So just email one of the emails, the questions. I'll look through all the emails. But I prefer if you email the one Barb put up, because she's helping me get a list of questions. Hey, Ninja RG9. So yeah, I'm going to get going so I can get some sleep, guys. But thanks for stopping by. And yeah, we will chat tomorrow. Yeah, Sherilyn, it'll be at 8 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. Yeah, it should be interesting. Like I said, it'll be a members only chat, but anybody could watch. I just think it's best for an interview like that, because you don't understand. If I sit there and I look over the chat and I see like a lot of trolls, or it just sidetracks me so much. And at least I'll know, like, if it's just the members that I'm seeing, chances are there's probably not going to be a lot of trolls that are members. So, I don't know. I just think it'll be good. And especially if, like, let's say Sherilyn looks over and there's a lot of like crazy comments, then I just feel like it's better just to keep the interview kind of like focused, you know, because I just know that other controversial interview with Julie Rowe, a lot of people didn't like her, and I got so sidetracked. Like, I was so disappointed how sidetracked I let the chat get me. And then plus, like I said, the members I'll be able to see more of the questions. Like, I don't know, I just think it'll be better. So I hope you guys aren't upset about that. I never used I never used it before, just the members only chat. So this is like a perfect time to use it for something like this. So, but yeah, if you want to be a member, I'm sure my mods have been putting up the member link. And thanks. Who just donated? Brittany, thank you so much. Brittany Carlson, thank you. And Teresa S, new member. Thank you, guys. Oh wait, Keiko, text me her idea. I see it says your idea has my vote. Let me know if it's an idea for the channel, and then I'd like to hear it. All right, guys. Love y'all. Have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.